I want to now bring Stephanie Erickson. I'm going to read her bio to you because I couldn't keep it all in my head and this morning because I still got pillow mark on my face. So you know I'm here, but I got to read it. So Stephanie Erickson is a California native, and she has a master's degree in social work and is licensed in Quebec and California. So she has dual licensure. Very bright woman, very smart woman. You wait, you're gonna find out. She founded Erickson Resource Group, a clinical practice focused on seniors and their families and decision-making capacity assessments for legal proceedings. Stephanie is the health and wellness expert on Breakfast Television Montreal. I watched a couple of those too, and just oh my gosh, she's a kindred. She's a kindred. You know, I'm meeting all my brothers and sisters from other mothers through Life is a Sacred Journey. Naturally, Stephanie worked with foster parents caring for victims of abuse and neglect. And as you know, that's something that I have done for many years and helped emancipated foster care children. So that also resonated with me. She later entered the school system working as a therapist for kids and adolescents and evaluated children with mental health diagnosis to ensure they obtained the appropriate school support. As you know, with COVID and now doing this online stuff, this is becoming a major issue. I have a lot of good friends out there that are working in this field, trying to make sure our children, and not with special needs, but our beautiful, magnificently made children get what they need, okay? Because we're not all made the same. Following this, Stephanie worked in a domestic violence shelter and homeless shelter, counseling women and their children, oh man. And after moving to Montreal in 2003, Stephanie worked in a home care setting. And for the past 14 years, she has developed a specialty of psychosocial evaluations to determine if individuals can make decisions for themselves due to their dementia or any intellectual disability. Through these various clinical settings, Stephanie has become an advocate. She understands her purpose. She's living out her purpose. And I am so honored to have her as our guest on Life is a Sacred Journey. So hit that share button. Make sure you pass it on to other people. It'll be dropped in YouTube after we finish, but share this interview. It's going to be a great interview. They always are. I'm so thankful to the universe that they always are. But share it with somebody who you know who is caregiving, because I think it's important, or someone who isn't caregiving yet, because the whole idea of this show is to get that suitcase of caregiver ideas ready so you can take it with you as you continue your sacred journey. One day you will be caring for someone, if not just for yourself. Hopefully you're doing that right now. Okay. Welcome, Stephanie, to Life is a Sacred Journey. It's so my honor and privilege to have you with us this morning. And I want to thank you for all of the advocacy work and for really understanding that humanity doesn't end when we get older. It's just another phase of life. And I want to start by asking you, just tell us your story. You know, I read your bio, but that's not your story. Your bio, you know, what is here in Stephanie that made you say, I got to do this, and you landed here. So tell us your story.
Okay, so thank you first of all for having me. So about me and my heart and my soul.
Yes,
that's a great question. My dad, who unfortunately is now deceased, he told me that when I was about 5 or 6, we were walking somewhere in LA and I saw a homeless person and I started to cry at even a young age. And I was saying to my father, why? I don't understand. So, and I don't even remember this, but obviously there was something in me from a very young child that felt the need to help others. And I think part of that was just who I was, probably genetically, but I was also abused as a child. And I think that has contributed to my need and my desire to reach out. I also have an anxiety disorder, a generalized anxiety disorder. I function quite highly considering, but that has made me very empathetic towards people and compassionate. And knowing, as you said, that we're all made differently. We all function differently. But at the end of the day, all of us need help. All of us need support. We need to feel understood. We need to be held, and we need to have trust in people. And I guess that's what's led me into social work. It's taken me years to figure this out, because I was struggling for a while in my life. But now I really understand, as you said, this is my purpose, is to just really advocate for vulnerable groups. And now I've really kind of latched in on older adults. And now this is where I'm, putting all of my passion.
And I noticed that in Montreal that you were engaged a lot of conversation in, as we are here in the States as well, around assisted livings and congregate living situations under COVID. And the COVID one, but the one interview that I saw that you were engaged in powerfully was a woman had fallen and was left on the floor for a half hour, and the cameras are showing people walking by her, and then a worker, a CNA, I don't know if it was a CNA, I'm just gonna, from my background, but the person, the helper, comes in and says to her in French, rudely, I might add, because I had to look it up, like, what are you doing down on the floor? Like, dude, and walks out. I was like, oh my God. So talk about that. That's a big deal. I was like, I can't say that on here, but where the HE is he going? Why isn't he helping her? Why isn't he comforting her? What is this in our congregate living places for our seniors? Not all of them. And you said that. We're not talking about all of them, my friends, but there are places out there where this is going on. So can you tell us that story a little bit?
Yeah, and I saw it as well when I was working in California, because I was a palliative care social worker for several years, and I was supporting people who were dying, who were living at home, and who were also in these kinds of long-term care residences getting minimal, if any, care as they were making their journey on to whatever you believe is the next life, the next stage. But I see it here every single day. And it's not even just a situation where someone falls on the floor and is ignored, which is obviously horrendous, disgusting, neglectful. It's just, it's sickening to see something like that. And I think all of us as an outsider can see someone falls, people ignore and walk by. So all of us can be in an outrage. But there's other really subtle things that I don't know if people are noticing. And I'll give you an example. About 6 weeks ago, I was in a residence and to see one person. And as I was waiting outside the nursing station to have a conversation with the nurse, there was a side room, kind of like a dining room area. Maybe they do activities there, I'm not sure. And a woman was in there by herself in a wheelchair. She was wearing like a medical gown, and she had no pants on or anything. It was just a medical gown. And she was yelling, nurse, nurse, nurse. And people were just walking by the room, not even looking in. So I'm standing there. So then I turn around and I say to her, what's going on? Can you get some, what do you need? And she says, I'm really cold. And I said, okay, I don't work here. Let me see if I can get someone to help you. Yeah. So I finally find a nurse and I say, this woman in here is cold. And the nurse goes, what am I supposed to do? Oh, and I said to her, do you have a blanket? I was just, and these are the things that are they seem small, but these are the little things. The people falling on the floor and being ignored are not as common as these little, like, digging at people's soul and integrity. Like, this woman is an inconvenience because she's cold. Right. And it just makes me sick.
And you know what I love that you just said is that they become an inconvenience. But you took a job, people, and you're getting a paycheck to do something that I think is one of the best things in the whole wide world. When I was a CNA actually doing hands-on care, I loved it. But I didn't look at them as old, these people are gonna die anyway people, right? I looked at them as living, vital human beings. And so I spoke to them by name. I hugged them when I saw them. And I remember one of my supervisors told me I was spending too much time with them and that I needed to keep it moving. But I did more work than anybody else in the doggone place because I had relationships with the people that I cared for, so it was easier to care for them.
I love what you're saying. Oh my God, do I love what you're saying. And this is what you would hope the attitude would be of people working there. Now, I understand it's not going to be 100% of the people. I also understand that people might go in with the highest hopes of an altruistic view of what they're going to do in terms of their care and connection with vulnerable people. And then the system wears them down, like your boss saying to you, you got to keep it moving. And eventually these people are like, I'm going to lose my job if I don't bathe this many people a day. Or so part of it, I think, is the systemic issues that we're seeing where there's not enough resources, not enough money. So then there's not enough staff. So then the staff are stretched. And they're also not being taught about the holistic approach to caring for somebody, calling them by their name, getting to know them, and having that individual relationship with people. It helps the person and it helps the staff too. Yes. And it's like we've lost focus now, and everything is like a numbers game. Yes. It's really discouraging.
And then those numbers translate into dollars and then the whole thing. And one of the things that I'm noting, and especially dementia care, as you well know, is becoming so expensive for families. And so therefore, it's like everything else in our society. We've got the Cadillac care, the this care, and then of course, if you're Medi-Cal, Medicare, whatever, not that, and again, not deliberately all the time, but what could we be doing differently around levels of care for our seniors as they age in place, either in community or even if because I know not everybody has the ability to care give, and that's not a bad thing. It's just some people can, some people can't. So what could we be doing different to create a model of care that fits people as they age? I'm going to shut this window. I hear a car out here.
Yeah, first off, I just want to acknowledge, I really agree with what you said, that not everybody is equipped to be a caregiver, mm-hmm. and we shouldn't feel guilty or bad about that. If that's not in our genes to be able to care for somebody at home, it's okay. You're not a bad person because you can't do that. So I love that you said that to hopefully relieve some guilt for some family members. Mm-hmm. In terms of what we can do, obviously we have to start with systemic changes, a different view, dollars, money being poured in, right? But I think the first really big thing we need to do is change the way we look at aging and seniors and value and productivity, because our society is so focused on getting things done, moving fast. How many widgets did you produce? How much money did you make? How many posts did you write? And it's like do. And as we age, we're not able to do. We don't produce in the same traditional way that we think about success. Yes. But the thing is that our mind is still so valuable, and there's so many things that we can offer. And I think as a society, we need to stop discarding those older years as being non-productive and actually flip what productivity means, because you can be producing in terms of your wisdom. Yes. In terms of your emotional love that you're giving out to people. There's other ways to define what production is. And I think if we start there, when we care for people, it will change because our views will be different. Yes.
And I'm loving what you're saying. I got to come to
We're like best friends already.
We are like best friends. The other thing is, it's like, we were talking pre-show, you guys, before I hit the button, and I am living, how do I say this? It's not that 20 wasn't fabulous, because I was cute and wonderful in my 20s. It wasn't that 30s and the 40s weren't magnificent, because I was a parent during those years with little people. My 50s were great, but kind of strange, kind of getting older, not understanding what was happening. But my 60s are fabulous. And so I don't understand why we keep making people afraid to get older. Ageism, what's the alternative? He says, that means I would be under my tree right now. No, I want to live long life, but I don't want people determining for me, Stephanie, or for you, or for anybody out there, anybody that I don't even know, what the quality of that is because of what you think is happening with me. So if I look like I have dementia, or if you test me and I have dementia, and then all of a sudden you say, well, Michelle can't go to concerts anymore. Concerts have been a part of my life. I love music. I have a guitar, a cello. I love music. So why would you take music away from me just because you think I can't go to a concert anymore? We take away instead of feeding into the history of the individual. And I don't know where you're a social worker. That wasn't taught to you, was it?
Of course not. No, of course not. And being a social worker or not, we're human beings. And if we can have any ability to be empathetic and put ourselves in someone else's shoes, stop for a minute and do that, I think we would all do things differently. So, I'm human. So I'll give you an example. When there are times when I'm having a bad day and I'm interviewing someone and I can feel myself being agitated, and it's a client and a family member, and I'm just having a bad day. But I know to stop myself and say, what if, oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Phone's ringing. What if that was my mom sitting there and my grandma sitting there, and there was a social worker and I was watching her interact with my mom and grandma? How would I want her to be? And that stops me in my tracks right away, because it makes me remember that I too will be in that situation one day. So being a social worker or not, I think, first of all, we need to put ourselves in other people's shoes, right? And to also just respond to one of the things you were saying, we were talking about music, is that we need to be able to adapt what fulfills us spiritually. Because to me, the way you talked about music, to me, there's a spiritual component to it of how it connects with you. So even if you can't go to a concert for whatever reason it may be, if you have dementia, it's too loud, it's too overwhelming, too many people, or physically, mobility wise, you can't get there, I don't know, whatever it is, we should be bringing that to people. And I have told my children countless times, because the beach is my spiritual place, is if mommy cannot get to the beach, put sand in a bucket, bring it to mommy, put her feet in the sand, play ocean sounds in the room. I want to smell and taste salt water, have another sound going of little kids playing or waves crashing, whatever it is, bring the beach to mommy, because that will fill my soul, and that's spiritual care. And it's such an easy fix, but we're all like, okay, bath, walking, food, bath, walking, food, and we're forgetting all the other parts of us.
And all the other parts of us that make us us. My shower doesn't make me me. It just makes it possible for me to be in the same room with you. Right? My shower doesn't make me who I am.
No.
But all that other stuff, I love what you just said. Milton and Jade, if you're listening, I want that sand. I hope you are. You will watch this later. That is a phenomenal idea. I love that. I love that. Tell us a little bit about your book. What brought you to writing your book?
Well, here it is. Isn't my cover beautiful? Look, it's a picture of the beach.
I love it, of the beach. Yeah, that's what made me say.
Of course. Because that's my place. I think I was just fed up with everything that I was seeing. And to be honest with you, it kind of started as a rant. And if you read it, it is kind of ranty, because I'm talking about my disappointments and what I'm observing when I'm going into long-term care situations, and the problems that I see amongst families who are not having transparent discussions and being proactive, and the insular way that we provide care, the medical approach versus the holistic approach.
Yes.
So part of it was kind of like a rant, but then I decided, okay, how do I make this digestible for people? And how do I talk about these things in a way that's very conversational, like you and I right now, Michelle, that's not clinical, but like you're sitting and having a coffee with me, or a glass of wine, which might be more fun than a coffee. And so I'm hoping that it's very easy to read. I've broken it into areas of ourselves. So it's the aging body, the aging mind, the aging heart and soul, the aging pocketbook. because financially you mentioned how expensive it is. And then there's this team caregiving concept about how we all need to be working together. It's a community, it's a team approach. It's not my mom is aging and we leave it at that. It's my mom is getting older, which is difficult for her husband, which makes it harder on my sister and I. And then that impacts our children, and it impacts our work, and that it impacts their activities. And now my pocketbook. It's a family, right? So it's encouraging people to have these really proactive and transparent conversations and put plans into place and discuss it with one another. Like, bring mommy sand and put her feet in it, you know?
Yeah. And how do families begin that conversation? You know, when I first began in the field, the advice was, oh, when the family kids come home for the holidays, make sure you sit down with them and have this discussion. We have later learned that's probably not the time to have it during the holiday season, when you want people to be happy and engaged. But how should people begin this conversation with their family members, children, whoever?
Yeah.
And
it's really hard. And within certain families, there are communication norms, there are cultural norms that impact the way in which we discuss things. In some cultures, if you talk about death, it's like you're willing it to happen. So there's a lot of these barriers, and I recognize all of that. Let me just remove those particularities and just talk about some general advice. So let's take it, if you want to talk about your kids, let's say you want to talk to them about sex. If you sit them down in their room and say, hi, let's talk about sex. I mean, the child's going to be like, oh my God, get out of my room, mom, right? So what you're doing before you have those conversations with your kids is you're making it normal. You're normalizing it throughout your relationship with them, so that when you do put in little droplets of information, it's a normal discussion. It's not a boom, let's just sit down and talk. And it's also reading their body language and their cues to kind of get an idea of where they're at. And I think talking about aging is the same thing. It's not a let's sit down at Christmas and have this in-depth discussion. It's start listening to your parents talk about their aging process, talk about their friends who are aging, talk about a story that they heard or a movie that they watched. And you can even recommend these things. Hey, mom, did you watch this movie, watch that movie? And then talk to your mom about it and see what kind of messaging she's giving you, because she's probably giving you information right away as to her expectations about aging, what she's afraid of, and all of these other things. So to me, that's the way to do it, is kind of start with benign situations, movies, articles, neighbors, friends, get some ideas, some clues, and then you start moving in to have a more personal conversation with somebody.
I love that. But do it, right? Don't wait until it's that time. It's no. Like, and what you're just, and do you do it like little bits?
Absolutely, because it can be information overload, and it's a very uncomfortable topic, right? It's scary to think about getting older. It's scary to think about, not being able to use a toilet and having someone have to help you with that. I mean, I don't like to think about that, or losing mobility or getting an illness or dying. I mean, they're very hard conversations. And so I think we need to digest the information very slowly, little topics here and there sprinkled throughout our normal conversations, to not make it a big deal, but to just make it part of our regular dialogue.
And then your book has some of those kinds of tips and things in them, right? I mean, because you're going through sort of your it's a clinical word, but assessment, as you've lived your journey and been in and out of the stories of people. And so your book is sort of that manifestation of, this is what I saw. I have the ability to rant a little bit about it. I love that you said that, because I'm a ranter. Oh, I love you, Stephanie. But yet you're giving tips and advice to people, so they don't have to actually get to that place where you and I get to, that they'll be prepared. Is that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the book gives lots of advice throughout for all those areas: the body, the mind, the heart and soul, team caregiving, the pocketbook. There's lots of very specific recommendations and advice. Also on my website, I have something called the Caregiver Toolkit, which is really very very logistical. How do you find home care? What are the questions to ask? How do you find a retirement residence or a long-term care residence? Here are the tasks. And then even there's one where it's when you want to start initiating the conversation, what are some questions to ask? What should I be looking at as we're doing this dialogue? And so that's really like a execution step by step that's available on my website. In the book though, I mean, I cover tons of it. It's just that I was trying to limit and see how to give the information in a digestible way again and not overwhelm people.
And so Stephanie's website, I found her really easily. I just punched in Stephanie Erickson, even though my producer Felicia gave me a battery of information, but I did it that way because it was late. And, and you popped up, and on YouTube, all the interviews that Stephanie has had. But go to her website, and the Caregiver Toolkit is really a great idea, Stephanie, because I have found, and people have said this to me, they went to their facility, their hospital, their managed care provider or whatever, and their family member got a diagnosis of Alzheimer's, dementia, and then they're given this huge mass of paper. And the people say, here's your prescription, and come back in 90 days, and we love you. Go out there and pay that copay. But I found they don't read this. This is a waste of trees. And what they really want is something like Stephanie or what you put together is a caregiver toolkit where you can go in and grab a little tidbit. You know, it's like a snack. There we go. It's like a snack. You don't want the full meal the minute you walk in the room. We have to have some hors d'oeuvres and a salad and some stuff before we get to the main course. So that is what Stephanie's toolkit is about. It's getting the snacks as you need them, going back when you forget something, you know, because I hate paper. I have so much paper in my garage right now because I've written stuff and people give me stuff, and you go to workshops and they give you paper, and I never look at that stuff again. It just ends up in a binder somewhere, and possibly the reason that I got a field mouse in my house right now because he's coming to get the paper. So paper's good, because you need it when you do your wills and your DNRs and all of that. But go to Stephanie Erickson's website. Make sure you put it in your history or a bookmark or whatever. I never know the language. My son said I should never advise anybody on computer stuff. He says, Mom, you have no clue what you're talking about. But bookmark it. I know that, Milton. Bookmark it, and then you can go to it whenever you want. And then the book you can get on Amazon. I did see that. So because I've ordered it, and so it'll be in my library. So go to Amazon and get the book, and then read it. You know, take your time with it. Go to that ocean spot. Gosh, that's making me want to leave here today. Go to that ocean spot and read the book, and then write notes. You know, I'm a journaler. You know, I love journals. When I worked with children, I found that journals were really great. I'm sure you found that as well, Stephanie, for them to write down what they were feeling and then look at their words. But journals can also put ideas and thoughts that you have about what you read and whatever. And then are you available for people to consult with you? How does your work transform from the book to the pod to the website? How do people work with you, Stephanie?
So the website is stephanieerickson.ca, just for anybody to know. And there's links to the Amazon to purchase a book on the website. As you said, the toolkit's there. There's also a calendar, and there it says book a session or book a consultation. I can't remember what the tab is, but it's book a time. Mm-hmm. And you can go on, and I just do video conferencing like this. You can book either a half hour or 45 minutes. And I can give you some coaching on how to have those discussions with your parents, or if you're just struggling with your stress as a caregiver and you need a place to talk about it, or you're having conflict with your families over who's going to do what for mom and that kind of thing. I can help guide family members through that caregiving journey really anywhere in North America.
Oh, okay. So Stephanie is available to you to guide you through, answer any questions that you have, listen to you. I know that she is an intentional listener, so she knows how to listen. and she will guide you through. And then if people needed you to walk with their family member, I noticed that you have some clients that you walk with in their living situation. That's something that you're just doing in Montreal right now, or are you available? How does that work?
Well, I can't, I mean, physically, I can only do it in Montreal, right? Because I can't, you know, if someone lives in, I don't know, Pennsylvania, I'm not going to like necessarily fly to Pennsylvania and tour residences, but I can certainly guide people again on the telephone or on video conference. And I mean, even with COVID, I'm not even allowed to leave anyway, but even if I could, I really do everything video or telephonically. But there's a lot of support that I can give people virtually and with the toolkits and such. And if you call me and book a consultation, I just send the toolkits to you for free anyway, and then can help you use them when you're out there. So it's, you know, I can help people in a lot of ways, but it's really just local that I'm face to face.
And in all of your stories that you have taken into your heart and soul through your experience in whatever it may be, and whether it's working with a family member or working with someone in a facility or even the children, because I think that I've learned when I worked with foster care children, I learned so much, and all of the things that I learned from them fit, you know, they're like a glove. They fit together with what I'm doing now. But when you think about those stories, what is the one or a couple of things that you would tell people from those stories that would help them from having to jump those hoops that you saw other people have to go through?
You know, a lack of communication or even secrecy in any situation is never good. Whether it's from a child who's being abused, or if it's from an older adult who's drafted a power of attorney and only told one child and not the other for whatever reason, because they were afraid the other child would get mad. The lack of communication and the secrecy that unfortunately is inbred in so many family systems is never good. And conversations are hard and they're painful. And honesty and transparency can really hurt. But in the end, I find that it is always better to be proactive and honest and transparent with anybody in any situation. And whatever their response is does not belong to me. It belongs to them. And that as long as I'm doing the right thing and exposing what I believe in and what is true for me, that's all I can do. And whatever reaction that people have is about them and it belongs to them. But I know that I'm doing what I can. Yeah. And to me, that translates in all of life with everything.
I love that. I love that because, you know, I've always felt, I don't care what the truth is, just tell it to me. Give me the honor of saying it's all right, I forgive you, or I forgive me, whatever it needs, give me the honor to do that. But when you don't tell the truth, it makes it so difficult for the other person to navigate their relationship with you because it's not a level playing field. So, and when they find out later on, then you have a whole messy situation to work from. So I know sometimes sharing bad news is hard. And Stephanie knows this as well. Sometimes sharing bad news is hard. When I had cancer, sharing that with my daughter and my son, hard. But they knew something was wrong. It's like they knew. So it would have been silly for me to walk around acting like there was nothing wrong. And then they were able to support me in a way that they wanted to. And it was beautiful. And we made it through as a family and became stronger because of it. You will become stronger with every crisis that you live through. That's how we're made. Our DNA is just made that way. We get better with every crisis that we experience. And so I just think that, Stephanie, when you're thinking about the next generation, with all the information and all that's going on in the world today, do you think the next generation is going to get it around ageism and I think I'm saying this right. Like, do you think that all of the things that we're bringing forward and the way we're discussing aging now, that the next generations will find that ageism does not have a place in our society?
Well, I sure hope so. I mean, I feel actually really inspired by the younger generation, what they're doing with climate advocacy, what they're doing with Black Lives Matter movement, what they're doing with the LGBTQ community. I mean, I see it in my children who are super open-minded and, you know, love everybody. My daughter was telling me she works at a grocery store as a cashier. And she was telling me once that this woman came, an older woman in her 80s, and was just chatting away. And my daughter said, but I know that, you know, maybe she lives alone. Maybe she doesn't have other people to talk to. So I just spent my time chatting with her. So I feel hopeful about our generation, but it's up to us to give the messaging and to give them the voice and the respect to share their messages and lift those young people up to be the voice of change and to value and acknowledge that, you know, just because you're 10 or 14 or 20 doesn't mean that you know any less than we do. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I feel hopeful. I'm a glass half full person most of the time. So I'm trying to stay in the place of hopefulness.
Yes, me too. Me too. So we're at the end of our time, but I want to thank, first of all, Stuart Furman, who brought Stephanie to my attention.
Yes.
And so he is a dear friend. Jane and Stuart are my other BFFs. I got so many BFFs. So
he wrote the foreword. Stuart wrote the foreword in my book.
Oh, I can't wait to get it. Yeah. I can't wait to get it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then I'll put you right next to his book. I'll put you, you'll live same place.
Oh, he wrote a great book.
Yes, he did. So I want to thank Stephanie Erickson. I will definitely have Stephanie come back. This is not a one-upper. We will have her come back and share. Get that book, Plan for Aging Well, Stephanie Erickson. Go say what your website is again, Stephanie, so they know.
StephanieErickson.ca, and Stephanie is with a PH and Erickson's with a CK, StephanieErickson.ca.
Okay, so Stephanie Erickson, my new friend in Montreal. I can't wait for COVID to go away so that I can get in my Winnebago that I don't own yet. Yes. It's in my head. I live in my head, you guys, and travel the world and visit all the people that there you go, Felicia. We're going to take Life is a Sacred Journey on the road and visit all the people that have been on the show. There we go.
Oh,
that is awesome.
Idea.
Thank you, Steph. You gave me a great idea. So I want to thank you, Stephanie. I pray that all of your family members are well, that COVID has not put you in any situation where anybody is ill. I want to think from the bottom of my heart, just say thank you so much for being an advocate for the families that you have been in their lives, those stories that they've been allowed to share with you. I want to thank you for being a part of the world that I'm a part of. It's really cool to meet all of these, hands across the world that are doing the same thing, that aging is a part of the human condition. And the way we do it should be sacred and divine, and we should honor them. And so I just want to thank you. And it's an honor to meet another person that gets me. I get it now. It's like Stuart said, oh, you're going to love her. She's going to get you. You're going to get her. We love each other, Stuart. He's watching. So we love each other. We're good. So any last words before we say goodbye to the Life is a Sacred Journey? Folks, Stephanie, from you. Any last
The time is now. The time is now. Let's do it.
Yeah. The time is now. Let's do it. And I agree. And if we get rid of ageism, I'm going to end with this last thought because I just thought it. If we get rid of ageism, then every ism that is living in our souls today, sexism, ableism, racism, all the isms. COVID is giving us an opportunity.
Yes.
To assess ourselves and to find out who we really are and who we really belong to. We belong to a human race. There's no difference between my sister Stephanie right there and me. You can see we come from different soil, but we believe the same doggone things. That's what is important in the humanity. The rest of it is gobbledygook, and it divides us, and it keeps us spinning like a top with no end. So let's do this together. And as Stephanie, my sister, said, the time is now. Time is now. Let's do it. Stephanie, have a wonderful day in Montreal. I hope the smoke from California, well, you're kind of far away. You're on the opposite side in Montreal, right? Yeah, we're having a lot of smoke and stuff here. It's really, really bad. We can't get rid of them. I mean, it's like 4 million acres of land has been burnt versus 1 million, you know, back in the day. So stay safe out there, everybody. Oh, you know, I have to do my thing. Wear your mask. Wear your mask.
Yes.
You heard in the news today, the person who didn't wear the mask now has COVID. Go figure. Wear your mask, okay? Carry your hand sanitizer. You know, this is my Minnie Mouse. You know, everybody who knows me knows I love Minnie Mouse, so I had to go buy Minnie Mouse stuff. And have fun with your life. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. Laugh at yourself. Don't worry about what other people think, because you know what? They're not thinking anything about you. They're not. Just do you and live your truth, tell your story, and make your story magnificent. Thank you, Stephanie, for being a part of my story. And
thanks,
I pray that you stay well, and we'll talk to each other soon. Life is a sacred journey. We're signing out for another day. Share it. Bye, Stephanie. Have a good day, everybody. Be safe.
You too. Bye.